Extraordinary Expeditions is a collection of 10 extraordinary expeditions together with some very cool player options, all created by Justin Handlin, otherwise known as Crit Academy, one of my favorite D&D content creators out there. Let's look into it. Hi there fellow role players and game masters, my name is Mr. Drosk and I come to you with this copy of Extraordinary Expeditions by Crit Academy. Now, Crit Academy, if you do not know who they are, he is a podcast slash YouTuber, but I know him most from his very famous and successful TikTok channel where he has like Dungeon Master tips and player tips and funny content, and he's just an amazing guy that has a great passion for D&D, and I can even call him my buddy to an extent. So he sent me this book and I'm very happy to talk about it. So without further ado, I will just talk about what I think is really cool about this book and one small issue I have with it. Really quickly, I am now also a hip kid with TikTok. Link in description below. So let's first talk about what you get from Extraordinary Expeditions by Crit Academy. Well, the book sees itself as a compilation of 10 expeditions that you can run for your players at certain levels. The expeditions are all very unique. There's like one horror team, the one is set in a forest, and all are very unique and confined. Some are more like story-driven, others are more like a collection of encounters tied together, but they are all unique and fun. They actually look really fun, all of them, which is really cool. But they also give us a few player options, and they are actually very interesting and very cool. And with many books that I have in my possession, player options often feel as an afterthought, like they're slapped in the back of the book and it's like, oh, by the way, here are some player options, and they're slapped in there. But with this one, they actually start off with the player options. So I will just start off with talking about the player options. So there's actually only 4 player options in here, but the book isn't about player options, and the player options that are in here are really, really good. They feel really original and they are extremely well written. And I want to give a quick thought about all 4 of them, since there's only 4. So the Way of the Wild for the monk is really cool and reminds me of Kung Fu Panda, where you can basically take a stance or like kind of change into a creature, either a crane, a monkey, a panda, or a panther. And you get just different powers from those stances. And what it does is you get these benefits from your wild form, and then at 6th level, you just get more benefits from your wild form. Then you get, there's other stuff you get from this monk, but that's like the basic stuff, the basic ID for this subclass. And I think it's really cool. For the ranger, this is something I see some of my players really grabbing, and I'm going to put this in front of some of my players, which is the ranger archetype huntsman. And the huntsman is all about setting traps, like all kinds of traps, like net traps and bear traps and all that stuff in the forest, and he has a bunch of powers to go along with it. Not only does he have a bunch of powers, like for example, when he sets a trap, like 2 kilometers away from him, and he goes away 2 kilometers, he walks, and a beast walks into the trap, the ranger knows what kind of beast is in there, even if he's far away from the trap. This is like a really cool power. It's just an example, by the way. And then there's also like trap options. You get a catapult trap, a drop trap, a falling net, all bear trap, pendulum trap, piercing bolt, pit trap, poison needle, sharpened trap, all kinds of traps you can use as a ranger. The 3rd class is the rogue archetype, the sawbone. This just creeps me out. I'm just going to skip this one. Then there is the Wizard Arcane Tradition School of the Emerald Conclave, which I've seen something like this in a Kobold book, where it is you are a wizard, but you use a bow and arrow as your spellcasting focus basically, and you can cast spells and you're really quick and you can shoot your bow very well. And if you cast a spell with the ranged touch ability, you can actually shoot your arrow, and if the arrow hits, that kind of counts like a touch. So you can basically heal people by shooting them. Well, okay, the wizard doesn't really have healing spells, but you know what I mean. So since there are a total of 10 expeditions in this book, I want to quickly go over 2 of them that I find very interesting and I will put against my players. Now, before I do that, there is a small issue in this book that I want to quickly talk about. When you go to the first expedition of the book, which is named Collateral Damage, the first sentence tells you for what level it is written. Level 1, which is amazing, which is really cool. When you go to the second one in the book, or the third one, or any other one, the level it is written for is often not in the first sentences, because it's something that summarizes the entire adventure, so you're reading through a bunch of text in order to see for what level it is, and it's just not there, and you have to look at another title thingy where it says introduction or summary or something like that, and the level it is written for is there. And then there are one or two expeditions that it's just really hard to find for what level they are written. Now, this is of course just a small problem in an otherwise perfectly designed book, but for me it makes a big difference as a dungeon master to open up a book and just stare at the title of an encounter, or like the summary, or just like the first sentences, and know for what level it is written. Now, they say in the book that all of the encounters are designed in the way that you can play them at different levels and different settings, and whenever you can adapt them for your game, and that's totally true, but they are initially written for a certain level or a certain group of people, and I just want that to be clear from the moment I lay eyes on a new encounter, adventure, or expedition. The first expedition I want to talk about is Don't Kill the Messenger. By the way, all of these expeditions have everything you expect from an adventure. They have the right stat blocks for all the monsters, all the NPCs. They have role-playing tips even for some of the most important NPCs, and a bunch of the stuff that you need for combat or other stuff is mapped out, so you can use that for your virtual tabletop, or you can use that on your table with miniatures, whatever. Don't Kill the Messenger is actually very cool because it uses kind of a contrast, and it's more of a spy expedition. So there are two cities. There are two cities that couldn't be further apart from each other in terms of the theme the city has, or like the feeling the city has. The first city is called Windgrade, which is a beautiful mountain city with knights and shining armor and wizards, and it's all like 5th edition high fantasy cool type of city. And then there is another city which is called Gloomhold, and this is the exact opposite of that city. It's dark, it's grim, there's assassins there, thieves there, all kinds of scum there, and basically what your players need to do is they are hired by the people from Windgrade to go into Gloomhold to spy on like the mercenary ranks within that city and to see what is going on. And across the adventure, across the expedition, they find out all kinds of stuff, and they have to secretly have a rendezvous with another person from the city, Windgrade, just to tell them what is going on, and then they get like the order to do stuff about it, right? And it's really cool. First you get that contrast between the beautiful city and the assassin city, basically, but you also get your players get to make the decision of how they go about it. They can infiltrate the ranks of these mercenaries. By the way to get to the city, to the evil city, is even like completely open to the players. They can hide within the mercenary guild and just act like they belong to them and just walk into the city, or they can trail behind them, or they can do all kinds of stuff in order to get into that evil city. I'm just calling it the evil city right now. But at the end of the adventure, at the end of the expedition, they get to choose, like, do they infiltrate people? Do they tell lies to different people so those people start fighting each other? Or do they just assassinate somebody? Or do they just go into open combat? The second one I want to talk about is Dark Fathom Crypt, and the reason I like it is two reasons. First of all, it's all about this creepy, dark, enchanted forest vibes, right? And I absolutely love that, and I like role-playing that stuff as a dungeon master. And it is also a dungeon crawl, which means it's completely for me. I love classical feeling dungeon crawls. I love dark, weird, enchanted forest, so I love this adventure. I love this expedition. So what happened is it also has a cool bit of lore. There are a bunch of wood elves, basically, who had this city in the forest, completely camouflaged, and it grew into this big, beautiful city, and the elves took care of it, and they also had something called a Green Council, and these people spoke on the behalf of the forest, of its creatures, of everything, to like preserve the forest, right? But then stuff happened, a coup happened, and the elves actually had to flee their city because the vines and the trees and everything started started getting corrupted and started attacking the elves. So eventually the elves needed to flee. This was all the doing of an evil druid who did this, and they wanted to overthrow the Green Council, blah 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 blah. A new Green Council emerged, and they asked the players, please get rid of this fucking curse on our city. Cue the dungeon crawl. So if you want your players to explore a dark haunted forest that's slapping trees in their face, and you want them to go into a crypt that has even weirder monsters, like literally plants that can cast spells, into a temple in order to get rid of a curse so the elves can get back to their city, this one is for you. And that was about it for Extraordinary Expeditions by Crit Academy. Now, if you're interested in this book, make sure to click the link in the description below. It has 10 expeditions, it has 4 player options, it has all kinds of stat blocks for all creatures you need, for all NPCs you need. There's a lot of cartography in there and a lot of great artwork, and it is very well worth your money. Until the next video, bye-bye.